People in the military have to laugh because you're constantly under stress. You're always on watch or doing something stressful, even if you're not on watch. So if you don't laugh and find a way to love your job, you'll just think about, wow, this is dangerous and this could go bad. This could go really bad. So people that couldn't laugh and find the humor in situations, they had a very rough deployment. Being oversensitive, it soon becomes pretty frivolous because when you go to war, we went to war. So someone calling me toots is not that big of a deal. We were at war. I was in the Navy from 2000 to 2010. I was active duty for 8 years and then reserves for 2 years. I came out of the Navy as an E5, which is a second class petty officer. While I was in, I went with the Marines for a while. That was my last tour. I was in Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was on the USS Bridge for 5 years. So I was in OEF and OIF. We were in port when the Twin Towers fell, and within 72 hours we were underway to war. And we went over there and we were gone for 9 months the first deployment and 7 months the second deployment. And you can tell the people that have a hard time with the stress. We had 13 attempted suicides on the first deployment and 9 on the second deployment. Now, none of them went through with it because our medical department was amazing. But I was a medic, also known as a corpsman. And so basically I did everything that a medic does. You know, I took care of the sick people, I took care of the wounded people, and so when I was on the ship, I was ship's medical. So I made sure all the exams were up to date, I did all the shots, I did all the blood draws, I gave all the medicine, I did all the female exams, did all of those things. We had another doc there, and since I was the lowest ranking medical person, I did the medevacs as well.
Welcome back to this Master Class, which is simply how and why you just have to laugh when you're in the military. And Erica is going to explain that to you now, especially during wartime.
It was during OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom. We had some rough seas and we were drilling. And one of the guys was going down Shaft Alley, which is like 13 decks down, and he slipped on the 7th deck and he fell 7 decks, and his leg got tangled up in one of the rungs. And so he ended up with concussion and a compound femur fracture, which is where it's sticking out of the skin. And of course it's a bloody mess because the femur is the biggest bone in the body. And so they call it over the 1MC, which is like the intercom, medical emergency, all hands. And so of course we go running over there with my little Unit 1 that's got, you know, basic first aid stuff. And we see that there's just this broken heap of a guy at the bottom of this. And he doesn't look like he could be possibly alive because there's so much blood. And at that point, it's, you know, you don't even have time to get gloves on. And so it's so stressed. And there are people that are losing it. And then there are people that are already going to shock just seeing it. And I remember we got him and we were getting him onto the stretcher. And my IDC came over to me with morphine and gave me 3 syringes of morphine. And he said, "You give this to him when he asks for the first one. Within 5 minutes, you can give him another one." And I said, "Well, why did you give me 3? And he said, "Because if it takes longer than 20 minutes, you're going to have to give him the 3rd one, but then you're going to have to watch his respirations." And then he gave me the paddles, the shock paddles. And I just looked at him and he's like, "This is for real." And so here we go in a helicopter, an old helicopter. World War II is helicopter off of our little tiny boat to fly him to the aircraft carrier. No, I was not. No, I missed that one by a year or 2. We went in this little tiny, you know, chopper to medevac over, and of course the back is completely open, and so like you're looking into open water, but it's an old helicopter, so the whole thing is shaking. And this kid has a compound femur fracture. His bone is sticking out, and it's a splint holding his bone together, a splint that I did. And so he's got my hand, and I had bruises on my hand for about a week. And I was holding it up. I was holding the Stoke stretcher. They're these big basket-looking things up. And I gave him his first shot of morphine. Scared me to death because I'd never given morphine. I mean, I'm not a nurse. I don't push morphine, and I didn't then. but I was all there was. And so I gave him his first shot of morphine. He started to calm down, and we got to the carrier, and of course I look a hot mess. I'm covered in blood, and gloves are long gone. There's blood everywhere, and we get in there, and the doctors start to take him, and he won't let go of my hand. And so they bring me back as far as they can, but he needs to go into the OR. And so I'm getting ready to walk away, and he like yells for me, "Doc, Doc." And the doctor's like, "We've got to take you in, son." And he's like, "No, Doc, come here." So I go running over there, and he's like, "Doc, you got to tell Chief I'm going to be late for watch."
Yeah, with his bone sticking out.
It was sticking out. He said, "I'm going to be late for watch." And I said, "I'll tell him." Of course, he didn't come back to the ship. He had to go through major physical therapy. He met us on the pier about 6.5 months later when we came back. He made it. Yeah, he survived. He's doing great. He walks with a limp. He's awesome. And if you ask him if he has allergies, he says he's allergic to gravity. And he's such a good sport about it.
So many people want to know, how do you make things funny? Well, the way that it starts, I believe, is that ability to laugh at yourself. And Erica proves just that.
I am 4'10" and a half, but it took a long time to grow that half, so include it.
Okay.
And so I've always been kind of a meatball. I just am.
Do people ever call you meatball?
I played Division I ice hockey in college.
Yeah.
And that was my nickname. They called me the rookie meatball. And
Did that bother you?
no. I think that as time went on, I kind of learned that if you're not comfortable with yourself, you're not going to make it, because at the end of the day, you're the only one you've got. That you're the only one that you know you've got. You can find a mate, and I mean, I've been married for 10 years, and I know he's always there, but he could get hit by a bus tomorrow, God forbid, and then guess what? Then it's just me. So if I'm not comfortable with being just me, I'm not going to be any good to anybody else.
Yeah, there are those special people like Erica that just have the ability to make humor, to think funny, and to share it. And especially, she's going to share something now with you. How do you make things funny and in a comfortable situation, especially when you're a female medic dealing with men?
So we're doing a big shot X, and the Marines are all there, and we're doing their shots. Like shot X is basically we do all their immunizations, and they're all there, and everybody is really nervous. And so they're kind of going down the line, and they're getting all their shots, and people are asking them questions, and they get to the end of the line, and I'm kind of recording. And then there's the hernia checks and this, that, and the other. And by the time they get to where I'm at, they realize that this is kind of a big room, and they're coming in, they're having to, drop trow, and there's this girl in there, and they don't know me. My guys know me, but they don't know me. And so they one of them was whispering to the other one about it, and he was like, "Nah, that's Doc, you don't understand." And he's like, "Tell him, Doc, tell him about Thailand." And I was like, "Thailand? I have been to Thailand." So basically, I've seen more penises than every prostitute in Thailand, and I've probably seen them all after Thailand. So you don't have to worry about that. And then, they kind of laughed a little bit. And then another guy was like, "Well, yeah, but don't you mostly see the girls on the ship?" And I was like, I have been inside more women than you'll ever be, and I've seen more men than you'll ever want. And of course, everybody cracked up, and the doctor that was doing the hernia checks dropped his clipboard, and he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, "What do you want, Doc? What do you want? I'm in this room with a bunch of naked Marines. What do you want? I'm a woman here."
Once again, example is not another way to teach. It's the only way to teach. And I hope you got something out of this. If you're in the military or you're not in the military, and you see why you have to laugh, not only in uncomfortable situations, even in dangerous situations. And why? Because it relieves that stress, helps you reboot, and come back with a better approach to what the problem is, and makes it easier to deal with. Thanks for joining us in this Naster class. Once again, if you want to know more about You Just Have to Laugh, check out the other Naster classes here on YouTube, and/or go to the website, yjhtl.com, which stands for youjusthavetolaugh.com. And you can get to the podcast or the live presentations that I do, or the wonderful books we have to help you get through life's, almost stuttered there. Didn't get one that smooth. I thought I was going to get through that one smoother, but I didn't. And that is just how, you got to laugh at yourself, don't you? And that is how you get through life's most difficult times. And the books and the presentations and the podcast and all these master classes get you through that. I sure hope they help. Let's listen to each other next time.